We should be live now with pre-show memes. Hello, gamers. How are we doing today? Exciting. All right, let's see here. Where am I?
Y'all heard about video games?
No, I've never heard of a video game in my life.
Why's this called Anime Book Club instead of Manga Book Club?
Oh, shit.
It's called that because at the beginning of us doing the series, I was like, I want us to read anime sphere type work, so it doesn't have to be manga. It could be light novels, could be VNs or whatever. But then we only ever read manga. And also I kept saying at the time, I was like, you know, we'll call it Anime Book Club for now, and then we'll come up with a better name later. And then we never came up with a better name. So this is just what we've been called.
Is there a better name than the Anime Book Club?
Did we ever attempt to come up with a better name, or did we just kind of slide that one under the rug?
Well, there
I think
was
we
a lot of
tried.
me mentioning we should come up with a better name. There was not a lot of coming up with better names. I've thought of some personally, and all of them I thought were too shit to even bring up. So
You see, Jazz brought up that Nyan swiftly revoked with saying Anime Book Club is the best because A, B, and C in the title in alphabetical order.
that is true. I have thought about that too.
You could just call
But
it
I-
the Borg Collective.
But
Come on.
I have had the same thought as you, Aztec. I'm like, it's manga we've been reading, but Anime Book Club. These are different mediums. I don't listen.
Manga, anime books, you know.
You're
Yeah,
right.
basically.
Obviously, we should start reading
Those
visual
cool
novels.
Chinese cartoons.
Listen, I think
There's
I
this one
thought of
called
it
Umineko.
because like I'm trying to think how many other. Well, one, there are, I'm sure, a couple other podcasts that do talk about manga out there. I have no doubt about that. I don't know how many of them are formatted similar to this, like it's like a book club type deal. And I also don't know what those things are called, if they are called anything, unless it's just that person's podcast name. The Joe Rogan
The one I know
Experience
is
book
Weekly
club.
Manga Recap, which
Weekly
does
Manga
like
Recap, okay.
I think mostly they try to keep up with manga that are coming out, specifically with a focus on shonen shit.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Is stream category wrong or right? No, you're right. I just forgot to change that. Thank you for pointing it out. I will change this. Podcast. Thank you, Andy.
Wow, false advertising on our stream.
Also, Andy, you've been here how long? And you tried to do FBI open up to the book club stream. You've been here how long? You should know by now. We don't have sounds over here. I'm not letting you guys fucking spam Death Note sound effects at me and shit. Ain't happening.
But chat was the pre-show.
Yeah, but then it's effort for me to remember to turn it off. I think we did try that a couple
the
times where I
pre-show
left
is
it
just
on.
the exact same scene as the show. It just
Yeah.
doesn't have the text.
I literally just turn off the text. That's it. It's I manually turn that shit off. I don't even have that mapped to a button, okay? I thought at least getting it for the pre-show. I thought you left it down for the pre-show. Nope. Thought you recognized it for the when the first didn't get the doorbell. Oh, that's true. It didn't do the doorbell sound or the convenience store sound, whatever it was. Okay, well, hi. Hope you have fun. Hope you're staying safe or doing your classwork, getting things done. I don't know if you're like on your way home or from school or work or something like that, or if you're working on stuff. But stay safe with whatever you're doing, Andy. You graduate in a week. Are you excited? You're laying in bed. Good for you.
Hold on. No, chat. Andy said graduate.
Graduate. Yes, that's true. It does say graduate. But I chose not to call that out. I was
Look,
choosing
it's
not
not
to
an
call
English
that out.
degree, it's fine.
That's true. Okay. Oh yeah, I didn't set up the I set up all the pings for everything else. The Twitter and the Blue Skies, but I didn't set up the Discord ping. Let me do this. I thought I had everything ready, and then now it feels like I don't have anything ready. What has happened? Okay. I even had the category wrong and everything. Wow, we've got some kick messages here. Oh, one of these is actually one of this is actually not someone I have to ban. Oh, good. Jay Smith, aka that's turned all right. There's nothing more permanent than a temporary name. Oh, damn. And then we have ASDFV. Hello, mate. How is streaming going? I came across your channel and streaming lovely content, which you just need people interesting in your content and get verified. I can help you get 1,500 follower and 300 people watch your live streaming, interacting to get verified in week. Contact me on Discord. Happy whatever. Okay, let's get this out of here. How do I ban this individual?
Hold on. Did you made?
I'm sorry. Did he just? Did you just disconnect, or did I just disconnect for a second? I have no clue what you just
I
said.
probably disconnected.
Okay. What'd you just try to say?
Sorry, at the start of that, did you say hello mate or hello maid?
Hello, mate.
Okay.
I don't think I'm a maid. I don't think so. Last time I checked.
You will be.
Think again, chap.
I
I
listen.
can
It
bring
has
that uniform next time I visit.
it has been a while since I last checked if I was a maid. I didn't realize I was supposed to be regularly checking for this, honestly. But you know, I mean, anything could happen.
You don't check regularly.
Okay, and then I paste this. Boom. Is that the right link? Oh wait. Fuck.
Please speak to your doctor about whether or not regular exposure to a maid outfit is right for you.
Wait. Is that the right thumbnail? Is the thumbnail's wrong on the YouTube stream? God damn it.
Defeat again by facts and logic.
I gotta change the thumbnail. Bro, what is happening? I thought I had everything ready tonight. Now nothing is ready. Alright, the thumbnail's updated, okay?
It's all falling apart beneath you.
Now people are gonna be like, wait a minute, I've seen that stream last week. No, this is the new one. Please. They're not on the moon. I was mistaken. I had just assumed that they were on the moon based on this cover, because it looked like a flat white land and then there was only space above them. So I just assumed they were on the moon. Apparently that was not the case.
Shadow, how is living in Canada? Or living on the moon, I mean.
Yeah, how is living on the moon? Okay, let's see here. Oh my god.
I'm confused.
The joke was because they're in a snowy area where there's nothing except space. That was the joke.
Okay.
Yeah, like Michigan.
Pretty much. What else do we have in the chat? Hopefully after, yeah, my ceremony is Wednesday morning. I did get enough feel about it. Hopefully after that, I'll be able to pick up on the book club with Pandora Hearts. Fingers crossed. Yes, that will be the next series we start after like a two week break. Two break a week. Okay. Get this guy out of here. He broke. Okay. Sounds very legit. Wait, what?
I thought you said it was a 3-week break last time.
No, it's gonna be a 2-week break.
Okay.
I miscalculated the weeks. There's gonna be a 2-week break essentially. I mean, unless I come back from my trips dying from exhaustion, it's just gonna be a 2-week break. So that's gonna be the plan. The plan is for us to come back on the 29th to discuss the first 2 volumes of Pandora Hearts. That's the plan that we have here. Okay, and then after that, we already have scheduled for us to read Bloom Into You afterwards. So, which is another, it's another short series. I think it's like 2 volumes more than Girls Last Tour is.
Yep.
And this is All Americans' friendly reminder that Sunday is Mother's Day. Don't forget.
Yep, I have plans for that. Anyways, you guys should watch Herbie.
Years ago, and my mom was pissed.
Reasonably, you guys should watch Herbie. Does Herbie have a manga? Do you know if Herbie has a manga? I don't think it does, but all of Herbie except the soft reboot. I think I've only seen the soft reboot, actually.
I'm sorry, someone says Herbie, and I just think of like the
Fully
show
Loaded?
about the car.
Yes, this is what Andy's referring to.
Okay.
I'm assuming this is coming to Andy's attention based on a Tumblr or fandom related thing. I've known about Herbie in concept. I didn't realize how big the fan base was, but Andy's already like, hold on, you only know the show, and is losing their minds over that.
Okay, by show I meant movie, but
yeah.
Well, Andy referring to that probably means there might be a show.
TV series, I am hearing this now.
I've only seen that Herbie movie that had was it Lindsay Lohan? I've only seen that movie, which I'm assuming was
Yeah.
the soft reboot. So I've known nothing about Herbie other than there were older movies, and
I
did
haven't
not
seen
look
it. I
into them.
know it existed. I don't think I knew it was a reboot.
I don't think I knew what the word reboot was when that came out, and I haven't thought about it since.
Okay, let me move this over here. Boom. We are, in fact, live on these things.
The fact
Good.
that there's Irby the Love Bug
Yes.
lore is
Listen,
astounding to me.
it goes very deep, all right? Very deep. There was a TV show, like a 6-episode show, fully loaded. Oh, that's fully loaded. The soft reboot. The soft reboot was... Oh, I'm sorry, that's not the reboot you mean. Okay, so the soft reboot was the 1997 Love Bug movie. Okay, I have no clue what that is then. Fully loaded is the continuation of the original story. All right. 1997 Love Bug tried to make Herbie like the ghost of a German man's dead wife. It was weird. What? The fuck?
Welcome back to the Herbie Fancast.
Welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! GX.
Also,
I mean,
AV25
5D,
coming
that's
soon,
all.
I hope. Yes, it is. I'm going to be going to next week. The reason why we have 2 weeks off instead of the 1 week is I'm going to be at Anime Central next week in Chicago, and then the week after, going right back here to Anime Boston. All right, so I'm going to be at both of those over the weekend. So if you are listening to this and you're somebody who's also going to be going to either of those, let me know. Maybe we can meet up and say hi or whatever. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So
I hope the Herbie the Love Bug lore dives deeply into his guilt over only existing due to the Nazis.
listen, listen. There's a lot to go into with Herbie lore. I'm assuming. I don't know. How many movies are there?
There's one important development that happened during the Discord, I think yesterday.
What's that?
And we found the single-use case for a chap multi-string on kick.
What was the explanation again? Something about China? I remember
something about
Turndo was
China.
explaining it. Also,
It's like
Turndo.
all of them.
Turndo. Hold on, real quick. Turndo, is your mic working? I don't remember if you've spoken at all yet. Audio check here.
I think it works.
There we go.
Yeah,
Yes,
you're
it does work. Okay. Because I remember it used to be that you had an issue at first and then it eventually worked. So that's good to know. But what was the thing with Kick? Something about China? Like it's the only streaming service that works there or something like that?
Yeah, it's the only video platform not blocked in China that's like not native to China.
Oh, damn. Well, I
But yeah,
mean,
Chinese viewers can use Kick.
where are all my Chinese viewers instead of all these fucking bots, okay? I need...
We're
God.
feeding the propaganda to the Chinese. Come on, it's got to work.
Listen, I'm just out
I
here
wanted to
talking
make a
about
joke
Ghost Last
about them
Tour.
needing a
I think
specific
they have
streamer.
standards.
What was the joke you were gonna make, Aztec?
I wanted to make a joke about them like needing a specific streamer on Kick, and then I realized I just don't know any of the streamers on Kick.
Oh, listen, it's probably for a good reason. It's probably for a good reason. Listen, I'm one of the streamers you know on Kick, not a prominent one. It is by technicality of I have it on my multi-stream thing, and it's just a button I can click that costs me nothing. So that's it. I don't really do
You're
anything
like
beyond
the
that.
top 1% by virtue of now having a viewer. Okay.
That's true. This is true.
Jeff, you understand? Okay, I
And
understand.
if you invite this
User-
person to your Discord, you can have dozens more viewers.
Oh my god, that's true. That's true. Okay. And he called me his mate too, so like we're already in there. Let's see. Why do I have Spotify open still? Do not have Spotify open. I don't need a song randomly playing.
You know, Andy, for not having read it, you got it pretty on the nose.
You got it pretty good, honestly. Maybe it was
Sure.
all chap screenshots that
To learn about Herbie, but in the meantime, y'all have fun talking about existentialism. I took game and Red Cross last time. I mean, that's basically it, yeah.
That's about it. A little bit Canada too, but it's not important.
I think Canada just does that to people.
Makes you question your life. All
Makes you
right,
question life in general, honestly.
this is true. All right, let's get started. Welcome, everybody, to another exciting episode of the Anime Book Club here on YouTube, Twitch, and Kick, all at the same time. We are here to finish up our discussion of Girls' Last Tour, specifically volumes 5 and 6. But before we get into that, let's get into our guest that we have here for this week. In alphabetical order, as usual, Aztec. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Aztec, and this week's reading made me, I don't want to say sad, but it's about the closest it gets. I don't have anything else.
All right, thank you for that. I don't know what to say in response to that, but good luck.
You're welcome.
Good luck. Next up, me, Kettenborg, aka Wolfborg, aka Chaplin, aka the best anime book club host you've ever known. If you've only at least found this one, I don't know of any others that exist other than whatever one Lady Galaxy mentioned earlier, but whatever, it's fine. I am here this week to. I already shilled. What did I shill last week? What did I shout out? I shouted out playing death games to put food on the table. This week I'm gonna shout out. Well, I was gonna shout out Keys of Monogatari, but I feel like I already shouted that out at some point recently. So I would shout out probably Inuyashiki. Inuyashiki is always based. You should read the manga. Check out the anime. It focuses. Our protagonist is old man grandpa, and the antagonist is a teenage kid, and both of them have had their bodies be replaced by robot bodies through an accident by aliens. And the teenager kind of gets a little crazy, and the old man just gotta figure things out. So it's very good. It's very good. It's like 10 volumes, the manga, I think, or was it 11? It's very short. It's very good, and the anime is amazing. Go check those out if you are interested. Next up, Lady Galaxy. Introduce yourself.
Hi, that's me. I'm Marianne, or Anne, whichever you prefer. My recommendation this week is gonna be Seabed, which is a visual novel that I think is, I would say, tonally similar to Girls' Last Tour.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
Wait, what was it called again? It was called Seabed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I will have to check that out. Thank you so much for that. Next up, Shadow Man V4. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Shadow. I have anything to recommend this week. Fuck you.
Well, that's not very nice. Wow. Do you have anything to not recommend?
Yu-Gi-Oh! GX Spirit Caller.
Okay, he is once again denouncing Yu-Gi-Oh! GX Spirit Caller. So it's a very hard thing for many people to denounce, but you keep ahead with that.
Look, it's like trauma, okay? You gotta keep. It keeps coming back to me somehow, you know.
Somehow, eventually. All right, next up, Turando. Introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Turndale, and I like to read.
Thank you so much. That's all you need to be here. It's nice to have you back as well, Turando. We are missing, if you've been listening to the past episodes, we are missing two members that have been here for the discussions. Ari and Shino, who are both out on some trip. I forget if they're on the trip together or if they're on separate trips or something like that. But they are away. Shino has at least shared thoughts in the chat, which we will read out at some point later. Ari, I don't remember if she did, other than like one panel that made her sad. It seemed like, but we'll go over these as we discuss this stuff. So
We'll get to it.
I'm sure she's off reading Rosenmain too.
Oh boy, so exciting! All right,
It's like how Andy's reading Doridoro currently.
Listen, we started the Doridoro anime, and I forgot, it's because it's been so long since we read the manga, I forgot how hyped the fucking anime was with it, too. Bro, the Doridoro anime is a fun time.
I told you it was good. Despite the 3D, they did a good job.
I mean, yeah, the 3D, Mappa's 3D with it is a thing you have to be okay with. If you can look beyond how it looks sometimes or whatever, if you're like somebody who's not off-put by that type of CG, then it is a very, very cool and awesome time. So, but anyways, that's...
Speaking of not finishing me things, hey, Terenda, did you ever finish me Neko?
Oh, that's
I
true.
don't believe so.
Wait, where did you stop at?
I think after the second or third book, one of the two.
Okay. Yeah, because we ended up finishing the whole thing, and it's been a whole thing as part of book club culture now. Okay, it's one of those pieces of media that just kind of takes over a lot of our
Yeah, we got
brains.
Minako. Andy does a fish story. Doro. Bit of Rose Maiden. It's
Yeah.
a grand old mess.
Anyways, Girls' Last Tour. We have finally finished the manga. Our journey has gone through many, many steps to get here. This week's steps included finding an art museum, going through a ginormous library, finding a AI construct that's just kind of been there for a while alone. They smoke weed at some point. They
I thought it was weird. I thought it was just a cigarette. Hold on.
those were
I'm pretty sure they said tobacco.
Okay,
that
fair
was
enough.
listen, I don't
You
do
know what?
drugs. I don't think what they were experiencing.
Makes a
Listen,
lot more
listen.
sense.
Listen, I don't do drugs, but I'm pretty sure what they were doing was probably more than tobacco. I don't know, but
The devil's lettuce.
I don't know many people who smoke cigarettes and then just start seeing fucking ghosts in their living room. I don't know if that's true, but
You know what? Fair enough.
They said it was the power of their imagination.
yeah,
That's
that's
not
true.
drugs.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
magic
just like the
powered by
Beatles.
drugs.
And we eventually reached the end of our journey, our climb all the way to the top. We reached it, or at least what they believe to be it, in the end. And it's been a whole thing. So, where do we get started with this? So, one of the main notes I had was they nearly died several times more this week than in the past. I think in the past, I was trying to remember how many times they've like had near death experiences, and the main one that comes to mind is when they were going up the lift with what's his name, Kanazawa, the one who gave him the camera, and then the lift almost falls over or disconnects or something. I remember that time happening. I don't remember many other times where they had near death experiences. There might have been one other time, but this week
There's
there
a
was like
decent amount of the time where they are in more like dangerous situations, but it's rarely as I guess in your face about what it is that they're dealing with.
right.
Like them when they going back to Kanazawa, when they meet him, they almost get like flattened by the building.
That's true. That's true.
And then they have to try and get the Kettenkrad across the building, forming a makeshift bridge, which is like an incredibly dangerous situation, but obviously that's a little different from the situations that we see them in here.
There was also the time, I think with last week's reading, where they're going up a spiral thing, and then they go through a detour on the side, and that side thing starts falling apart.
You stole my bit. What the fuck?
Well, I didn't realize you had this bit ready. I'm sorry. I just remembered it, okay? I did try to steal your bit.
I already said it.
Well, I didn't hear it. But it's fine. I understand. We understand that happened. But yeah, here I was just like, they're having these near-death experiences more apparently to me, and then they're also like talking more about what's going to happen when they die, what it feels like afterwards. Is it going to be like a dark void? Is it going to be like a whole bunch of kind of not just thoughts that they're talking about or thoughts that they're thinking, but also like visual representations of this in several aspects, especially when they're going up the like final set of stairs together and their lantern breaks and they're just walking up completely in the dark, having lost everything and it's yeah. There's a lot in these last few chapters that it goes, in my view at least, a lot more impactfully than some of the other, but not to say that the other chapters in the story are not good. They are also good, I think, and also interesting and thought-provoking. Here, so you can tell, at least to me, that we're reaching the finality of their journey, long before we actually get to the end of their journey. with each of the little experiences that they're having and thoughts that they're having, more so at this point. At least to me. And I think that the way that they handled the kind of approach it was interesting, because there was a lot of like back and forths or thoughts and concerns about like um it almost felt like to me like she felt very scared and hopeless about the things happening, and then you was just like, yeah, but you know, we still got to live, and it was nice, and we got to live together, and you know, it might not have all been good times, but still, the fact that we got to live was worth it. It seemed like it was supposed to be like a nice little hopeful kind of way to view these kind of dark circumstances or whatever. Like even if you're living in a shitty time of like having to barely survive, you can still try to find nicer way, or still try to find ways to make the most of it in your own little way, to enjoy certain aspects of it, which makes sense to me thematically for like how they've always kind of been throughout this journey. They've always taken situations that to us are just like, well, that's kind of fucking dark, or oh, that's kind of sad, and they've just been like, wonder what that's about. You know, why did they do things like that? And then they like were like moving on from it and things like, or they, like they were like, well, that is sad, but I guess we got to keep going. And I don't know what I'm saying anymore, but I think the way that we handle the themes is very nice, I guess. Yeah. What were you gonna say?
Just real quick, I think there's a bit of phrasing in, I can't remember if it's in the manga or if it's just in the anime, but a bit of phrasing that one of them says is getting along with the feeling of hopelessness, which I think is just kind of the whole thing.
I'm sorry. Yeah, getting along with the feeling of hopelessness. Yeah, because in some of these situations, like what else are you gonna do? You're just gonna let the hopelessness take over, and then you just die miserably, I guess. I mean, their situation is not great. We actually got a flashback to how their situation started, which I did appreciate, even if it's not fully detailed for why exactly they had to flee. You can get the gist that like shit has been fucked with the last remaining people, and they've begun their journey as a result of that alone, which I thought was nice. That we added in that
another
detail,
repetition of the same cycles that we see in all of the war stuff that they see around them through their entire journey.
Yep.
Even when humanity is that far gone, it can't help but repeat these ideas of violence.
Yeah, there was so like, now that we're done with the story, I was just like, you know, we never really got a moment where it sat down and explained to us everything that happened in this world, and I like it a lot better for that. There were many details and places where we had about as much information and idea for what the fuck happened there as these two did, even given our context of like more our age kind of technology and uses of like certain types of cultural things that they wouldn't recognize from wherever they're from, or the stratum they're from, which I guess they started at a stratum lower than where the story began. I think was the implication from the hometown chapter, which surprised me, because I think I originally went into this towards the beginning assuming that they were from a higher stratum, and that's why they didn't understand the things that were there. But I guess the implication was that they were from a lower stratum because their grandpa told them to just keep climbing and never go down. Which I think is an interesting detail for that.
There is still the potential, because we only see like that little slice of their life before. There's still obviously the potential for them having been from like a higher stratum beforehand, and just things going south so quickly that their grandpa was like, okay, we need to move here now.
Yeah. Now, other question I had. Clearly in that flashback, they looked much more baby. But they were apparently old enough to understand how to drive the Kettenkrad, and I have been reading and things like that. So they've been on this journey from a young age. How old do we think they are now compared to? Are they supposed to be in their teens? Are they supposed to be like older adults? I still don't have an exact estimate of how old they are supposed to be.
I've been assuming like teens, maybe upper teens, but probably not like 20s.
Right. Because I'm trying to think how they looked compared to Kanazawa and Ishii. Ishii, I think was the other one's
Ishii.
name.
Yep. They're definitely younger, like significantly younger compared to those two. But
yeah,
I always think like maybe 12 to 14, but it is definitely left vague.
Yeah, most likely teens, I would imagine. Yeah, because it seemed like, and funny enough, when I was looking up something related to girls, I think it was related to the game reference that Turando had brought up. When I was looking at that, someone had mentioned how they hadn't checked out Girls' Last Tour yet, but they had assumed that it was about two young girls who were drafted into the war based on the cover of the first volume, because they're just in military gear in a snowy area.
Fair enough.
Which I think that's probably accurate to like what I thought Girls' Last Tour was. Before I read this years ago, or not read this, but before I knew about the series years ago, I think I had originally thought that, or that I kept getting confused with Girls in Panzer. I think I might have thought that they were from the same series for a while because I hadn't actually checked out either series at the time. But yeah, completely detached. Although it was funny to find out the Girls' Last Tour supervisor helped with the explanation stuff for the Kettenkrad, and probably helped with the author probably reached out to some person from that team or knew someone else in a similar kind of sphere about details for the military stuff they included. Very detail oriented, the author wanting to put in all this stuff, as Turando also mentions, with the many different art references and the structural references, I guess, and things like that. Very, very cool. Yeah. Where do we go from here? What were our general thoughts that people had from the readings this week that stood out to some people? Does anybody have any that particularly stood out? Anybody?
Give me a minute to find the thing.
Yep. I remembered myself. I really liked the visual of the library chapter scene. Because like she's like, oh, I found a book. Oh, I found another book. Oh, I found another book. Oh my god, all these books.
Holy
And then they're
shit.
like, this is a giant bookshelf. It's not just any bookshelf. This is a massive, massive bookshelf. Probably the one side of the bookshelf we could like barely see in the panel was probably the scope of like, I don't know, all of the books in America, maybe. It was like supposed to be like a massive amount of books on this
Feels
shelf.
like a parallel to the grave lockers from earlier in the series. I don't know how intentional
yes.
that was necessarily, but
yeah, because I
just
remember
that
when I saw
feeling
the
of, like panning out and seeing like way more than even anything you could have ever thought was there.
Yep, because I remember when we read that chapter, I had thought that the graves initially were a series of very long like library shelves or something, and then it turned out that they were graves. And it is interesting to see that
Hey, it
same
got paid off
visual
here.
trick. Yeah, it did. Yeah, so I was like, oh my god. But here it's like I think the lines they had connected with it, I thought were like super cool. They're part of the many screen caps I took. Let me see if I can show these on stream. I'm not showing all the screen caps I took on stream, but I took a bunch of screen caps just for like visual references, for things potentially. Wanted to try something new with it this week, see how it goes. I think my problem with the screen cap things is I'm typically reading them from my Kindle at first, and it's a pain in the ass to get individual screenshots from my Kindle. And so then I just try to go through them later on the PC and grab some screenshots. Okay, here we go. Look at this massive bookshelf here. And then I think there's a longer shot of the one side of that bookshelf, which I don't think I grabbed here. They have its own lift that goes fast for going through the bookshelf. It reminded me the lift. I mean, actually, now that I think about it, it makes more sense. It reminded me of those libraries that they have, which are run by robots, because they store so much that you just request whatever book that you're looking for, and then like a mechanical series of like things goes through, finds the book, brings it out, and they just, because they have it set up like this, they can have a massive collection that is like efficient for like what they do. And the lift kind of makes me think of that now, with like how fast it probably has to go to work through this kind of stuff. Very, very visually interesting. And then the words here, I think prior to this there was, let me find because the lines before this make it more interesting. Oh yeah, they were talking about their grandpa. They say, let's try going a little higher. Grandpa also said that if you put together all the words that humanity has ever written, there'd be more words than the number of stars in outer space. I guess this is the highest shelf. Looks like you can climb up. Words more than the number of stars. And then this here on this page is where it goes. It's like a universe of words, huh? I thought that was a very neat way to describe that, because of the scale of it. And then they're like, is that all the things that people thought of? It's like, oh my god. Fuck, dude. Listen, again, it's just really cool. Like the way that we get to use these characters who are just, because they're younger, they're like more curious about these cultures and don't understand and ask it about it to themselves in more simple terms and ways. While we get these like insane visual shots. And then mix that all in with our own knowledge of these things, it just works super well, I think, for leaving an impact on you. I really enjoy it.
It's a real weight to, I think, especially the last couple volumes.
Yeah, it reminded me of the way Tatsuki Fujimoto does dialogue in his series, where it's very simple, it's very raw, it's very at times it feels like it's like, well, duh, or whatever with that. But like when you add in the context of like how this character feels about it, or like it just feels real, and more connecting, despite it being simplistically phrased, I guess. Yeah. Okay, let's see here. Oh, and I got a message here. It's like the Library of Babel fitting, even as a pun. What is it? Oh, the tobacco scene. Did you know that in a lot of apocalypse settings, the first to be abandoned are children? Because if there's no future to look forward to, what's the point? So I thought this manga was going to be an Angel Beats situation. I haven't actually... I don't know anything about Angel Beats. I don't think I do.
Wait, telling me
It sure does exist.
Candidate for the Anime Book Club.
Wait, what?
I don't think there's a manga. No, I mean there are manga for it, but there's not like a.
It's a visual
direct
novel, right?
Adaptation. It started as an anime, but it's from Key, I think, Visual Arts, and Jun Maeda, who did like Clanad and
I see.
I think Air, just like one of the big visual novel writers from around that time.
I see. Every time I hear about Jun Maeda, from some, there was like another new series that he did.
I think his most recent one is Heaven Burns Red. It's like a gacha game thing.
maybe. I was thinking of an anime, something about God. The Day I Became a God. That was it.
Right.
I remember watching that. I really enjoyed it, but apparently a lot of people giving Jun Maeda shit for how he was ending that series, and I guess this was a pattern that those people are just upset with how he handles his writing in general. I don't know for sure how that works for his other series, but I was just like, damn, they're ripping him apart for something that I do not agree with them about at all. What the fuck? I don't know. Anyways, I don't want to be talking about Angel Beats too long or June Maeda too long. Anyways, Girls Last Tour.
That's the thing we're talking about today.
War never
Didn't
changes.
Aztec have something?
Yes, Aztec. Did
wanted
you
to
find
say?
what you want to
Yeah.
talk about? Yes. What do you got?
It wasn't like a single page. It was more like just the chapter, I think. But when the Kettenkrad finally just broke down,
Oh God, Lost.
Yeah.
That was the name of the chapter. And it had the visual, the cover. I really liked all the cover images for this week, especially. That one had just a visual of the Kettenkrad. It looked like it was crashing and flying upwards and falling apart bit by bit. And then I was like, oh no, I know what is going to happen in this chapter. And man, that one was like the beginning of the very, very sad sequences of chapters nonstop for me. Because I'm just like, oh no. It like breaks down in several ways, and she's working on it. And at first I thought it was going to be a chapter about you not feeling like she can play that much of a role at times. Because there were comments from you being like, okay, well, I can help, right? And she's able to help with, like, I think one thing, and that was like opening the lid or something like that. And then she had like nothing else to do until like she started working on it, and she wasn't actively asking for anything, and you just like assumed things that they could help with. I was like, oh, that's a little nice little bit for you to try to at least feel important with like these kind of times. But more importantly, it was about how she was focusing on trying to save the Kettenkrad, whatever she could do. I think it looked like she stayed up for like a whole day straight working on this fucking thing. And at the end, she was just like, hey, you want to just turn this into a bath? Because this shit's fucked. We're not going to be able to use this anymore. And then they turn it into a bath, and then she fucking starts crying. And I'm like, damn, what the fuck?
Kettenkrad wasn't the only thing that broke down.
Yeah, of all the deaths I thought was going to happen, I didn't think we would have a death scene for the Kettenkrad. I didn't think it would happen, bro.
They lost their home again.
Yeah. Man, why you gotta put it like that? You're making me more sad. Fuck, dude.
Mostly that's what I'm best at, so...
Wow.
No, here's the funny
Incredible.
part. Here's the funny part. You're making Chubb more sad, but you're making me laugh.
Bro.
That's why I do it.
I had thought when they entered the library, I thought this library was going to end up blown up. I thought they were going to accidentally blow it up, or it was going to catch fire or something. I thought all those books were going to start burning somehow. They did not, though. But
I mean,
they did eventually.
Eventually, I'm sure, yeah.
The ones they took did.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Sad they started burning Cheeto's diary, you know?
Bro, yes, that shit.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god. I understood the other books, but I was like, you're gonna tear up the journal? What was the point of fucking writing it? This is the journal. But
because it helped her along the way.
you know, I was like, okay, they're burning the map details. They don't need the maps anymore because, you know, they're good. But then they're burning the other pages. I'm like, no, man, no, that was your history. That was your legacy to leave behind. And they're just like, listen, we don't.
But it's what the robot said that they talked to at, I think, the very beginning of Volume 5. All the memories they're doing at that point is weighing them down and making it harder for them to move on.
Yeah.
They don't need the memories anymore.
Man, because like there it was that they needed the they needed the hot water at the time for something. Then yeah.
Yep. They needed the water so they could I think they just needed it to prepare food.
Bro, I'm a data hoarder. I could never burn a journal like that. Okay, that's not happening with it. If I'm making that journal, I'm not burning that fucking. I have several half journals I had started over the years. I have not thrown away because I'm just like, what if I want to look at those pages again? I would write in them like 2 times and then never forget that they exist. But I haven't thrown them out because, like, man, what if I want to read those again? I don't know what I thought about 10 years ago.
Yeah, the
looks like
difference
you.
being that of sorry, go.
Okay, I was gonna mention that you was the last one to leave a note that would actually last about her eating fish. Kind of funny.
Oh, are we referring to the art painting she left behind?
Yeah,
Or
next to the cave painting.
yeah, because they go to the art museum, which, if I recall correctly, included a lot of artworks that, or either artworks we would know about or art styles that we would know about from our time or previous times, and then I'm assuming more fictional, futuristic kind of stuff, which are probably also inspired by whatever kind of styles that we know about. Very interesting, very cool. And then we ended that with the what did they call it? Probably the last human artwork ever made. I don't remember if that's how they phrased it, but it was the last one. And it was by you, and it was the drawing of them, and then it hung it up next to the cave painting, right? So that was a cave painting from like millions and millions of years ago or whatever, next to where are we?
The first humans, yeah.
We're in
3,000 Spain.
something.
Yeah, 30,000 years ago. 36 from the.
Oh, you mean the cave painting was from Spain? Okay, I was trying to ask like what year they're in. I believe they're in like 3,000 something. Whatever the date said on the camera.
Jeff, I almost did it again.
You almost did what?
Yeah,
Oh, you almost
banned them
unbanned
and
the guy. You almost unbanned the
Yeah.
guy I just banned for trying to spam my chat. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I'm just like, man, it's again powerful visual after powerful visual, much more than ever with these last chapters. This week's reading was just like I had my hands up in the cinema pose the entire reading. I think I was like, this is amazing.
I'm glad to hear it.
Like I knew it was probably going to be sad. I didn't realize how fucking deep it was gonna go with it though. I don't know, like when I was hearing people telling me that like the ending was sad, or I was going to be like, oh, it's probably just gonna be like they die somewhere, but like they live together happily or whatever. But and I mean it kind of did that, but like way more. There was a lot more, and it just kept hitting and hitting and hitting you with it, all the way up until that ending bit. Yeah.
There's just a real feeling. I posted a thread, I think a couple of weeks ago, like after our first meeting, and talking about Girls Last Tour and how it delivers on this idea, on the promise of an apocalypse, I think more effectively than just about any other piece of media that I've experienced. And I think sort of adding on to that, I think Girls Last Tour, especially in its last couple of volumes, really feels like it is attempting to eulogize humanity.
Yeah.
And it is just reflecting on all of the things that people have done and that people do to each other, and still trying to come to this conclusion that it was all worth it even when it's over.
Fuck, yeah. Yeah, because I think I've had similar thoughts to the worries that Chi was having at times. Chi was having like thoughts like this darkness or whatever, or use forgetfulness at times, or the nature of humanity to forget things. When you die, do you just forget everything? Does it just eternal darkness forever? Like what are like is there a reincarnate? Is there afterlife? Are like what is the what what happens, and are we okay with the limited time that we have in relation to what happens? Because if there's nothingness after life, are we what do we do with the fact of the human lifespan of like so many years? What at the grand scheme with this series especially showcasing not just through like their struggles in the apocalypse, but like going through literally stratum layers which all represent different generations of this world just building on top of each other, like conceptually and visually and thematically and all of it piling up and adding on to that kind of core idea. It's bro, how did they do it? How did they just think about this stuff? This is the kind of shit that I'm just like, the ideas and themes around them are like the core message is so simple, and yet we did so many different ways to add on to that feeling and impact to really make you think about it and make that message last so much in a incredible way. So yeah, I think I liked Girls Last Tour, maybe a little bit. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, it's only one of my favorite pieces. It's only one of my favorite works of art ever made.
Like, I think in the first week we read this, the first 2 volumes, I wouldn't say it's boring immediately like Ari would, but I also wasn't sure if I would remember this series too much in the future. If it was going to go with the same tone that it was in the first couple volumes. But, as with last week and then now with this week, it just ramps up with how it gets emotionally involved and connected with its core message. And it's not like it was a certain type of series of slice of life at the beginning and then eventually became this. It's the themes that it's been reinforcing have always been there. It's just more apparent and upfront about it, while still like being very well executed about it now. Whereas before, it was. I think we had mentioned this before. The illusion in the earlier volumes that like we understand their situation is fucked, but the manga at times makes you forget that their situation is fucked because they just look like they're just going on a little slice of life journey through the apocalypse, and you get to see cool weird sights. But still, if you remember it, that their situation is kind of fucked. They have to keep going everywhere just to try to find food. They don't know where they're going. They don't understand the culture. They don't understand the technology of whatever was left behind. They don't understand, the few people that they encounter. They don't know if they could trust them. And they're, as far as we understand, they're like teenagers who barely understand a lot of concepts of things. So, but with the style that they are drawn in and the way that they talk to each other and how innocent they kind of act with each other and things, it's hides the fact that they're in a very dangerous situation that you should feel bad for. It's
very easy to forget the reality of their situation because they are the ones living through it, and humans adapt very easily to whatever circumstances you put them in.
Yeah.
Especially the younger they are, the more easily they adapt. And this is the only world that you and Chi have ever known. They're not going to be hit by the weight of these things because they don't know any of it.
Yep.
And then eventually the weight starts to hit them as well.
Yeah. Because
Kanazawa and Ishii are gone.
Yep.
The Kettenkrad breaks. An AI basically asks them to euthanize it.
Yep. That's the whole thing we'll talk about.
It,
with each other guest that they meet on their journey, whether it's human, a biological engineered thing, or an AI thing. It's like, or a machine in general. It's like introducing more and more ideas to them directly for the kind of realization, at least to Chi, it felt, for the hopelessness of what might eventually happen with them. And we kind of see that towards the end when they reach the top, and it's nothingness. There's just nothing there. It's just flat land and like a slab that they find. But they're like, well, we reached the top. So it's like, oh, well. And in the end, with all that, it's like, maybe there's nothing here, but we reached it. And maybe we're fine with just the fact that we reached it and the journey that we had along the way with that. You know? Yeah.
At least they had each other at the end.
That's true, they did. There's a lot more very cute, intimate moments with them this week. I mean, there have been in the past too, but here I especially really liked. They had the cozy little, was it the igloo? I think they built an igloo at some point.
Snow shelter, yeah.
Snow shelter, yeah. So it was like a snow shelter they built, and then you was giving back the warmth she borrowed when she like just took was it the cloth or what or blanket or whatever, and used that while she had to drive. That was cute. I also really liked, you comforting Chi as like the realization of the hopelessness was like starting to hit her more and more when they're climbing up the stairs. When they reach up to the top and they just are like, all right, I guess we'll just lay down now and hang out here. It very cute, very cute. I remembered thinking, and I think I don't remember if I took a screen cap of this bit, when there was like a line of thought or reason when Chi's talking and holding Yu's hand, where they feel like they've become a single being now, and maybe they were all along.
It's when they're climbing the stairs and everything around them is just complete darkness.
Yes. They're like holding hands, and she's like thinking about like how they've become one, and in my head I was wondering if thematically the implication could be said that Chi and Yu, with the different sides of people's perspectives they represent, in my head I imagine Chi being the like logical, more responsible, more trying to worry about what's going to happen in the future and looking to the past for it, that kind of side of a person, and then you being like the let's just not think about that stuff, let's just have a good time, let's just try to fucking eat, let's do this. The different kind of sides of a way person could view life, and that this series towards the end was those two sides going through someone's, like symbolically going through the kind of struggle of balancing these two sides, and then finally embracing both sides of them equally to fully enjoy life more towards the end. It was like one kind of like symbolic way that I viewed how we were approaching the ending. It was just kind of like the series being a message about the acceptance of those two different sides in order to better enjoy life. You don't have to just be ignoring the worries. You don't have to just be ignoring the past, but you also don't have to be worried about everything and always having to like be super strict and responsible and like rational about like your how much food you're eating and things like that in a survival situation. Like you can have some moments where you're just like, you know what, let's celebrate with this can of fish that we've been saving and things like that. Let's start smoking some weed and well, they didn't know it was weed at the time, but things like that where it's like you if you go too far on one side of these things, you probably end up in the situations where all the past civilizations that we've seen have like started killing each other, or like the guests that they find, where they're just kind of doing their thing and they're more focused on that than anything else. And it was that was like one thing that I had that I thought about personally. I don't know how accurate that is towards what the author was getting at, but in my head I thought that was a neat way for me to view those aspects of those two, at least. I mean, because I like these two in general as our protagonists, and I like their different dynamics, and I like how they work together. And so I liked this whole deeper connection that is made clear to us about how close they are with each other towards the end. Because I did also enjoy that, because I didn't actually know throughout the series if they were supposed to be like just friends, or if they were supposed to be sisters, or if they were supposed to be have met each other randomly as both of them were wandering around. But apparently now we know that they just had a hometown together and a grandpa, but I don't know if that implied that is their actual physical grandpa, because I mean, it's probably just Japanese, like the Japanese word for grandpa, which I believe can just be used for an older parent figure that they would have or whatever.
I always took it as Chi being more directly related to him, and you wasn't.
Which would make sense with his library that he has there. Yeah, that is an interesting.
I mean, obviously,
I
it's
think
not a very like explicit. Sorry, go.
Yeah, what were you gonna say?
Go ahead. I thought it was a very interesting premise to go with the girls' last tour, because I kept thinking if you had like a gender swap version of if it was like the boys' last tour or the brothers' last tour, how much of a tone difference that would be.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think back to if we had male, because the only male character I think we see here would be Kanazawa.
Kanazawa and their grandpa.
And the grandpa, yes. Which I was surprised we actually got to see the grandpa's face. I thought I was going to do one of those memes where like you don't actually see his face, you just like see either his silhouette or like the lower part of his body because he's like taller or something like that. And then they would keep it vague. But we actually got to see his face, and we got to see a little shot of him with a gun saying, "Yeah, I hope those girls are doing well." I was like, "Oh, all right."
Like a true American.
Well, yeah, I mean...
On the one hand,
say that again?
Oh, sorry. On the one hand, like, I like the image of the old dude just sitting there holding a gun in his chair. And on the other hand, it's also just horribly depressing about what that's going to mean.
Yep. Because he's just like, all right, you and Chi and you, both of you gotta like take the Kettenkrad. You know how to drive it, right? You've driven it before. Just start driving. I can't go with you. Something's about to happen. You gotta go. You gotta get out of here. I can't go with you right now. I don't know if I'll catch up with you, but just keep going. Just go up. And
definitely not down. Down is bad for reasons.
Yep, for reasons. Yep. Listen, if shit's bad on that stratum, shit was probably worse in the lower stratums. I don't know. But then again, apparently, well, although I don't know how the time things work, because I wasn't sure if the way the stratums worked was they kept building the newer societies on top of each other, which implied that the lower societies had fallen or like died or whatever, while the higher stratums was where like most of the living people were living. But if they came from a lower stratum and started climbing, and there was more of the stratum to climb over all the years, then I guess just shit was fucked on all of the stratums for various different reasons for whatever they had going on. Unless it was one big global thing across all the stratums, I'm not sure. But with the scale of how things were, and the fact that they needed the Kettenkrad, losing the Kettenkrad, I had mentioned this before about how like they need the vehicles to get around, but especially once we get to these later areas with gigantic libraries and shit, and like trains that you drive giant vehicles into and around and things like that. I'm like, the scale of things, if this Kettenkrad dies, everything is fucked. And then the Kettenkrad died, and I was like, oh no, they're gonna run out of food, and so they're not making it to the end of the journey. I was like worried for that. I was like, oh no, they're fucked with how long, like insanely long everything is built here. They're fucked.
On
Surprisingly,
the bright side, they
made
did make it to the end of the journey.
They did. It appeared like a montage of them. What was it? Sleep, eat, sleep, walk, burn, repeat. They had to burn to do fire and like cook. They had to eat. They had to sleep, and then they just walk, just walk through the snow for all this time because they can't drive anymore. So now they're just walking a lot. And I'm like, oh no, they're fucked. I'd be dead. Probably the first day doing all that shit in this world. That's yeah. Losing that Kettencrad, I was just like, okay, maybe we shouldn't try to build a bath. Maybe we should like devote all of our time now to fixing this fucking thing. But they had to accept that it was probably too far gone for whatever they had there to repair it with or something. And I was just like, oh, maybe they're gonna find another vehicle. Oh wait, we're like 2 chapters away from the ending. We're not finding another vehicle. This is it. I'm like, oh no, oh no.
Kettencrad 2?
Man, and the Kettencrad broke in like so many ways all of a sudden too. Or like it broke in one way and then whatever she tried to fix, it seemed like it would like break something else
That's a
or
new
something.
problem.
Yeah. And man, and I'm sure that's like probably symbolic of like the unexpectedness of life and how it will how some kind of force will like throw a wrench in like whatever intentions you have and like try to stop you from being able to move forward with your life towards whatever your goals are that are like it's beyond your control. You could try to do everything you can to fix it, but you might not be able to, and you might just have to accept that it's over, and you might just have to like the bath probably symbolizing something like find some kind of relief despite that, and it might be bittersweet, but it's still you have to just accept that that's over so that you can try to find some way to move on. Otherwise, you're just trying to fix the Kettencrad forever, and then you died fixing the Kettencrad.
Figuring out how to get along with hopelessness.
Yeah.
Relief in accepting failure, I think.
Yep.
Like I've faced that many a time.
What was an interesting theme?
Yep.
I really like the idea of religious symbolism. Because if we take like going downwards as hell and upwards as heaven, that a lot of the lower ascensions when they're depicting like religious murals, like at the very bottom we had like the koi fish and the plants, which is very earthly. So there's a lot of like spiritual totems and like religion down below. So we have like, the gods. If you start to ascend the layers, it starts to get more scientific, almost cleaner, even as you would say. More like you would get to rockets. At the very highest level, you have the library, and at the top, you don't find heaven, but you find a starry sky, which I thought was very interesting.
And the that final shot of them at the top floor too. The quote unquote like heaven area, because that whole climbing up the darkness and them thinking about death and the afterlife and all that, followed by a light, and I'm just like, oh, this is the light at the end of a tunnel. This is them going to like heaven or whatever, and then they reach the top and it's just nothing. That nothing, or like they could still see the lower floors from this top floor, and I'm just like, oh, so the top ended up just being the next stratum that was started and then not completed. And I was like, oh, this is just under construction.
Guys, a little early. We're still in the beta for this one.
I'm like, heaven is just under construction, but they don't understand that that's what that is. And I'm like, oh no, oh fuck. But they find peace in that still. Yeah.
They look at the patch notes.
What were you saying, Galaxy?
Like the Tower of Babel.
I also will point out with the what you were saying about the religious symbolism, there's the very direct representation of the robot that they meet and calling itself a failed god.
Yes. Yeah, let's talk about that robot, or the AI, whatever. It was from a tower that they met that was supposed to take them higher up. I think they believed at the time it might take them to the highest stratum, but it only took them to a certain point.
They were told to search it out by the creatures that they encountered at the end of Volume 4.
Yep. They found big tower. They were trying to figure out how to get into it because they could not find a door, and it turned out the door was just. I think they tried to blow up a section of the wall to open it up and let them go inside, but they ended up blowing up a light construct nearby, a big like light tower, which was somehow draining enough resources for the door to not be able to open, and then the AI opened the door. I don't know if that was intentionally. That I don't know. I was trying to. Maybe I could be corrected here if I missed something. Was that light tower meant to disrupt that tower's operation, or was that just a consequence of backup generator power conservation or something? Because they weren't, the AI wasn't able to open it until
more
it blew
as
up, so.
just an unintended consequence, because
Okay.
I think that just feels like it fits in with Girls Last Tour a little bit better.
Right.
That idea of like unintended consequence and the ways that it holds people back and the ways that it makes them fail.
Yeah, I think I had thought that other idea of like it being made to purposely disrupt it, because I had thought I think it was in the closed chapter where they go outside of a place, and they're I think Chi is focused on you, is like, oh, look at that, and Chi looks at the big light tower. He's like, oh, that big light tower. And you're just like, no, the thing down here. And it's like, what? It's just a water fountain thing. You is focusing on like the thing right in front of her, the like fun right there, and she is focusing on like, what is that weird thing over there? And I was like, oh, is the, and then the like, I don't know if it was the same light construct that they find later on, but in my head I was just like, oh, is this some kind of like big thing that's like providing light through all of the stratum, and may or may not also be doing weird things to the tower intentionally? Because I also wasn't sure if the light construct was meant to provide like sunlight for all that stratum based on how it was constructed. Because I was still trying to think of how some of these stratums are getting some of the weather or light that they are, and I guess constructs like these would make sense if that is its purpose, where it's to provide like sunlight or some kind of light in areas where there would otherwise be none. But some of the weather we know is probably just like water from the higher stratums just pouring down through water systems and shit like that. And it's getting snowier the higher they're going up as well too. And yeah, the light construct and the door. So we opened up the door. The AI greets them. I think he says it's like Tower 6, and that the other tower, the robot hasn't been able to talk to any of them. Did the robot say it had a name? I don't remember if it had a name.
I think it just said main tower number 6.
Main tower number 6. Okay. I'm looking at the AniList characters page, and it says Dai 6 Kikanto no Jiko Chino, and then it says the God of Failed Work is another name. It has been, I don't know if it's been given this name in some translation or something, or if that is just a rough translation of that. But the God of Failed Work is apparently how they're credited on AniList.
Sure seems about right.
And this AI is just like, oh, come inside. We'll show you right to the elevator or the lift that you gotta go on. No problem. Just come inside. Come in. I'm a hologram thing. I'm flying around all this place. I'm just very excited.
Boy. A big
yeah,
fry.
you is just like, why are you so long? And he's just like, because I am happy. And I'm like, oh. It's like, well, that's the perfect way to answer that for you, I guess. But
yes. Hold on. Was that the trick to happiness?
Yeah. If you can't extend yourself like that, it's just you're doomed to unhappiness, I guess.
Okay, so what do we do with Ari then?
Damn. Listen, Ari's not even here, and Ari's catching strays. It's fucked up. Listen.
But
so
it's pretty funny.
Listen. The AI is explaining that this the AI was basically supposed to settle, I think it was disputes between the machines and the humans, of the area,
I mean, sheep were rising up.
or something about negotiations between them or something. They're supposed to be some kind of like mediator or like caretaker of something. And they're led into the lift room, and the AI is just like, all right, well, there's the lift. I'll help you out. Can you just do me a favor? Can you just put in these funny numbers here, and then like stand in front of this facial scanner? Either one of you will do. Either one. Don't worry about that. Can you just do that? And they're like, well, what's this gonna do? As it's like saying authorization confirmed. And he's like, oh, it just kills me. It just makes me disappear. I'm just gonna go now. It's like, oh, and she's trying to like stop. He's like, wait a minute. And they're like, well, you're a little too late for that, Chi. It's been confirmed, and it's locked in for them to be able to use. I mean, they didn't realize that that's what they were doing at the time, but yeah, the robots, the AI is just like, I've been here alone for all of this time. I can't. I have all these memories of these things. I don't get to forget about any of them. I have all this processing I can do, and I can't do anything. I make poetry in my off time. Binary poetry, mind you.
Best kind of poetry.
I share that with the machines. They have a good time with it. Okay, we'd have a little fun here, but I'm assuming eventually some of them might have broken down over the years too, or whatever. So they're just getting lonelier and lonelier as time passes. And I think this chapter was called. I think this chapter was literally called something like Oblivion or something like that too.
Something like that.
And
yo, Oblivion, hold on.
yeah. And they're just like, it's rough, man. It's rough because here they are going on their journey, going through all of this bullshit just to try to find food to stay alive, and then they meet an entity who would like to be euthanized because they do not believe they have anything else going for them anymore. And I guess for the AI it's a little different because to them it feels almost like they are going to live forever. They do state that there is the calculated time point they will eventually die will be like when the backup generator fails, and they're just like, that might be a while though. So
how many fucking backup generators did you make?
A lot. We still have power somehow at this point in time. So the backup generators, then I'm assuming the number of backup generators with how vast these areas have become is probably still going to have a little bit of power in places for a very, very long time. So, yeah. Are we mentioning flowers for Algernon in the chat? I haven't read fully what we're mentioning flowers for Algernon for, but I love flowers for Algernon. What are your thoughts that you're typing in the chat, Turndo? I don't know if you were able to...
I was just remarking on like various thought experiments on memory.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I mean, back in the fish chapter, they were talking about what was life, and I think they said like life basically is something that has an end. It's very interesting to consider if that AI was alive or not.
Yeah. Yeah, because they were wondering if I think this is even literally a earlier chapter line, but I think here they brought back too about like whether or not being able to die or like eventually like wearing out can imply you are alive. And here is an AI who feels like they're essentially immortal and would just like to die. Does that make it alive now through that, or how does that work with that? Yeah, it's very interesting as an idea. Oh, man.
I think the other thing to point out with regards to whether or not it's alive in that same way is that you and Chi are indisputably, I think, alive, not just because they will die eventually, but also because they have each other. They are not solely relying on their own understandings of their existence in order to view themselves as alive.
Mm.
Whereas when you contrast that with the AI, it only has its own memories to confirm to itself that it exists.
Right. Let me find. I'm trying to find the screen caps I took.
It is drawing
AI
on not just its own memories, but also this endless sense that its entire existence will continue to be the exact same because it spent all of that time closed away from the world.
Fuck.
Interesting.
Dude.
Cogito ergo sum. I think therefore I am.
Yeah.
So basically,
I
to not
remember,
give.
therefore I wish to not be.
We need to make sure AI doesn't know it's conscious, and we need to not give AI emotion.
So what you're telling me is we just revoke machines and we're good.
I mean, like, we always want to put emotions in. I think we want to converse with our AI. But, like, I don't think it's a good idea to give AI emotion. If it's like cold, logical, like a calculator, then it
Oh,
will always
yeah.
be happy.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned this in the spoiler chat at
I
some
think
point.
I would actually argue against that and say that I think the point is not that emotions are what cause suffering, it is isolation. You and Chi are able to keep going because they do fundamentally have each other. Even when they fight and argue, it's very low stakes and things that
Yeah.
it's mostly just them fucking around, for lack of a better way to put it.
Right, yeah. Yeah,
Whereas
yeah.
the AI,
The AI just being alone and only occasionally making poetry, like it has nothing else to do. Yeah, and that is how it is for like the other guests that we had too, like the human. I think the only other one was like, I guess the machine that was taking care of the fish knew about the big robot that was walking around, but everybody else was just like fully alone. And then they meet these two who like don't seem like they have a general purpose going on other than just going up for reasons that they don't know other than to survive. But they have each other, and yeah, that's adds to their dynamic compared to how everybody else is viewing their situations. Yeah.
The AI is very different from Yui and Tito because it's like the AI is very much like aside from the whole isolation and emotion, I think it considers existence as pain, right? So it's very existential in that sense of philosophy. I think Nietzsche came to a very similar conclusion, both literally and figuratively.
sure, but I think it came to that conclusion from a very specific place.
Like, do you think we should like it's ethical to um keep a short lifespan on AI? Like, do you think they should just like they should not like last forever? I don't know. I feel like there's that whole aspect of genocidalness when you like shorten lifespan.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I have that kind of an answer because
It makes me think of
I mean AI don't really exist at this point in the way that like we're talking about, obviously.
Yeah, like within the context of fiction.
But
it makes me think of Blade Runner. This is what they did for Blade Runner, right? Where these androids are made and they're given a limited lifespan, and this whole time, I mean, they're viewed as the bad guys because of the actions they're taking, but the actions they're taking are all in the goal of trying to find their creator and forcing him to do something to give them more life. And because this is something that they have been created and specifically designed with a certain amount of lifespan, and then once they reach that time, they will die. And they, in their heads, they're just like, why can we not just go to our creator and try to force him to give us more life? and it's a whole question throughout that movie about what it means to be alive, whether like these androids that are trying to do that compared to like the humans that are like they may be killing or like maybe going after them and things like that. Yeah, which I think.
The reason why.
Yeah, go on.
Go ahead.
No, go on.
The reason why okay, the reason why I wanted to bring it up is because like with ChatGPT and like the tools that we currently have, right? The longer you chat with it, the less logical it becomes. It starts to hallucinate or it starts to go a little insane, which I think is a very interesting parallel.
Well,
So usually
my
yeah.
argument is with that Torrendo is that from the start they're already hallucinating. It just gets worse.
It's interesting, like you just want to keep the conversation short and then usually you get the result you want. So I thought it was just very interesting to see the real world application of that.
Yeah.
And I think the main similarity there in terms of the parallel, because obviously ChatGPT is, to the knowledge of experts and to certainly my limited understanding, there's not actual consciousness in something like ChatGPT, to the extent that we can consider something like consciousness to be real.
We did have the story about I think it was a Google engineer years ago who was so convinced that some AI they're working on had a consciousness that he tried to like leak info about it to the press or something, because he was that convinced that they had created a conscious
That's something
thing.
that you see like a fair amount, because ultimately people are very good at personifying the things around them, especially when that thing is specifically designed in such a way to reflect something that people are used to from other people.
Right.
It's a lot of words. Hopefully it made sense.
No, I think it did.
Okay.
I remember thinking too when they were in the library chapter, and they were like, "This is all the words humans had ever written," and I was thinking to myself, okay, but we're also in the advanced society, so they probably also had introduced AI writing works as well by this point. So I was trying to think to myself how much of those works were written by AI at that point, and how advanced those AI might have been at that point with that kind of stuff. Because I mean, right now, we obviously it's a big thing of discussion here, and many of the AI supporters of our time are also revering this technology of eventually becoming basically a god of some kind, like AI eventually. Because that was the other thing that I thought when he was saying I was a failed god. I was thinking to myself like about how people had become so reliant on technology that as it expanded and they eventually created AIs that like would have their own either consciousness or like ability to like so far advanced with technology that they just are so powerful with their processing and what they do that we essentially revere them as a god and look towards them for all of our answers for everything, for our resources, for negotiations, for functionality of everything. This belief here, they refer to themselves as a failed god, and I guess in my mind I viewed it like the AI saw that as well, but then all the people still died even though he was supposed to be a god, and he's been left alone for all of this time. And he may be wondering if like that is his fault because of how much they revered him. Yeah, these were thoughts that came into my head.
Well, if you enjoy that, you can enjoy Rain World a lot. That's all I have to say on the game.
Yeah, I did not. I hadn't even known that Rain World was a game that exists. For those listening on the stream, Turndo had mentioned a game called Rain World and how it has parallels to Girls Last Tour. And seeing those, I'm like pretty convinced they probably were at least somewhat inspired by Girls Last Tour, perhaps. But I know it was at least so similar to the point where the Girls Last Tour's creator, Tsukumizu apparently not only played Rain World, but also drew fan art, like 3 pieces of fan art for Rain World, and posted that to Twitter. And I was like, oh, that's cute. That's nice. The cycle continues with that, potentially. Because Girls Last Tour started in 2014 and then went until 2018, and I believe Rain World was from 2020 or something like that. It came out after Girls Last Tour, or at least after it started publishing. So
I think it was more recent than that, even.
maybe I
have
would-
the Steam picture. Oh no, I was wrong. That's 2017.
2017. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's like around when it's getting close for Girls Last Tour to be ending its series run too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah, so I gotta check that out at some point. I'd be very interested in how that works if it is similar to this kind of thing. That was a parallel, and then I remembered early on we had mentioned, or at least I think I had mentioned, this series reminding me of Made in Abyss, where it's kind of like the kind of the opposite of it in a way. Made in Abyss, they can only go down into, once they go into the abyss, they are only allowed to go down. If they go up, they like die or like get transformed or something like that. So they have to continue downwards, and as they go downwards, they're going through all these different areas throughout their own histories and different environments in these places, and they have to deal with all these very tough emotional situations related to the philosophical concepts that are like the groundwork for how people are living in these areas. And then here,
Very Dante's Inferno.
yeah, and then here it's the opposite in that we are going upwards, and we're not really meeting new characters within this world. I mean, other than the occasional guests that we find, we are in the aftermath of the world, going upwards to explore what is there, and then try to find a way out of it. Well, just a way to like find an ending. That just find something, I guess. Because they don't know what's up there, but they just know that what's down below is probably worse, so they just keep going up. And yeah, I thought that was very interesting, the parallels. They're obviously very, very different series for many different reasons, but I thought that was interesting, the like opposite kind of parallels with that. So
yeah.
Trying to think if we had any other connected series or like similar kind of series with I mean, other than Shimeji
Not
Simulation,
really a
of course.
Series, but I guess as long as we're like comparing Girls Last Tour with other things, there's a video essay that I have returned to a fair amount of times. Action Button Reviews Boku no Natsuyasumi. Boku no Natsuyasumi is, I believe, a Japan-only sort of Animal Crossing-esque game where you play just a kid on his summer vacation, and he went out to visit his family in the country for that summer vacation. So you just play out that month, you leave at the end. And in the video essay specifically, the writer, Tim Rogers, has a condition related to memory. I might be getting the name wrong. I believe it's like hyperthymesia. And essentially what it is hyper-specific autobiographical recall. He has a almost forced ability to, any time that he experiences like something, he can recall all of the previous times in his life that he has experienced this thing previously. And he has kind of an aside where he talks about it as a video game reviewer, and specifically people asking him sort of, I think facetiously, but maybe real, the question, why do you bother replaying games when you can recall everything about them? And he has this line that I really like called, which is, the paleness of memory's shadow. And that feels very connected to the AI, which is just this idea that the memory of experiencing something will never actually be as impactful as the act of experiencing something.
Damn. Holy fuck. What? Damn. I gotta check this out. You said this was from a video essay talking about this, right? You gotta link whatever that is. I have to check that out.
Yeah, sure. Give me
It's like-
just a sec. I'll pull up the channel.
That's like super interesting. So I definitely gotta check that out eventually. Man.
Did you guys
Yep.
think about the tobacco scene? The when they're like doing.
Oh yeah,
I'm
that's
pretty sure
true.
tobacco like we
Like
like
ignoring the jokes about them getting high or whatever. Yeah, they're like looking at a family that I think they had seen photos of the family or the group, whatever it was that were there before, and then they started like seeing them almost like they were ghosts because they had talked about ghosts as a concept because again they're still thinking about the afterlife and they're wondering if ghosts are like if the people's souls still exist as some ethereal thing, and if they are, there was a lot of fucking people that used to live in the world. Do we have enough space for them all and shit like that? And they get high and they're starting to see them, and I think it felt like they talked to one of them. I think, what did they say? They were just like, "Do I know you?" And the ghost was just like, "No," and they were just chilling there. Yeah. Did you have any specific thoughts about that? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I wanted to set a couple things up. So I
Yep.
thought it was very interesting the way they set it up because how the soul came out of the mouth, right? Because obviously people have a lot of different ideas of the soul. But that one really stuck with me as very interesting. I'm not going too much into the history of it, but like, um, one of the ideas, especially by the Egyptians, is that your last breath is your soul leaving the body. When they were smoking tobacco, right? Like they were theoretically inhaling the souls of something, or you could theoretically say they were poisoning their own souls, right? Because breathing equals life. So breathing was like, meeting all these other people. I just thought it was very interesting symbolism in that sense
Oh,
of connecting their souls with others.
I like that. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Man.
But yeah, it was also
Wow.
like a weird chapter because it was like in between. Was that
Yeah.
like an actual thing? Because the
Yes.
architecture was weird.
Yeah, so some of these chapters were not technically originally there at that point in the original release, and I think that might have been one of the chapters potentially. Some of these chapters were only included with the bonus meme of the Japanese release of the volumes. Originally they were like bonus chapters with those, and then here with the English version they're just included as just like they were always kind of there, and it's where they chronologically should have been. There were a couple chapters, by the way, I should probably note this for you because I don't know if you knew this detail. I mean, maybe you did because I don't know if you listened fully to what we were saying on the podcast before. There were some chapters that were cut out or just never uploaded onto your local video store. Those couple chapters are also bonus chapters that just weren't there, and that's why the chapter number counts were kind of slightly off or whatever. But yeah, I think that was one of the chapters, and that's why if you noticed any weirdness about it, like if it was listed as an in-between chapter, or if you thought that the structures looked different that they were in or something like that, that was probably why. It's probably because it wasn't originally there with the original release of the series and it was just added afterwards, but it was supposed to be chronologically placed there in their journey, and that's why it's also marked there in the big maps of their journey so far. Which, by the way, with the journey so far maps, I was kind of surprised we didn't get a full map on the volume 6 bonus meme to like show the entirety of their journey on like one map. it didn't have to be like a huge map because we already saw the details in most of the places, but I thought it was gonna be like a zoomed out map of their entire journey to just give us a closing idea of everything they've been through. We technically didn't get a bonus meme for Volume 6. We got a bonus meme in that we got a bunch of images of the landscapes that were very impactful as we wrapped up the series, but we didn't get like a informational thing, which I thought was interesting choice for the Volume 6 release. It also makes me wonder if there was
Poetry.
eventually... What was that? Say that again?
We got poetry, didn't we? Isn't poetry at the end?
Wait, did you guys get poetry? I didn't get poetry. Wait, hold up.
At the end of Volume 6?
hold
On the
on.
local.
Hold on, let me check that version. What did you guys get? Hold on.
Wait a minute.
Hold on. What did
Is
you
there,
guys get?
bonus meme? Hold on.
Because in mine, you see
I've just got the afterword in my copy.
Yeah, mine's just got the version I was reading has the zoom out of them on the highest stratum, then several different landscapes, I'm assuming from different stratums, and then a final shot of their two hats next to some glowing symbols. I believe these are on the slab, perhaps, that they were lying on. I'm not sure. And then it just says the end, and then there's the afterword. But that's at least in my version. There might be something else. What are you saying? Let's see here.
Is there not like, do not mourn, though someday night shall come, for then above the pale earth, moon will smile silently as we watch, holding hands in rest. That one?
Do not watch.
Was it Off
No.
Wandering by Herman Hesse?
I don't.
Not mourn for someday that will come.
Oh no, I know this wasn't in this. What the hell? They got a whole bonus here, Jeff.
That's what? Hold on. Let me see. Let me see.
Yeah, local video store version. This whole is a bonus.
I do say that there is a attached special and BD chapter, which these are, whatever these things are, were not included in my version, I don't think.
No, hold on. We got a bonus. Thanks, Trendo. It's saving the day yet again.
But I still don't see the thing that Turndo's referring to. Where's the thing
Yeah,
that
the bonus-
you're referring
I'll,
to?
I'll, I'll send it. I'll send it.
Yeah, if you can send it, that'd be great. I'm trying to find it. Where did this come from?
Yeah.
Oh,
It
is
in
it the
chat.
Takamon
Oh,
extra
the-
chapter thing?
Bonus chapter?
Okay, yeah. This bonus chapter was not included with my release. It's got
I thought they would go with T.S.
symbols.
Eliot. Because T.S. Eliot's what?
Wait,
This
let
is
me-
the way the world ends. This is the way the world ends. This is the way the world ends. Not with a bang, but with a whisper. I thought that would be more appropriate, but they went German. But not surprising because a lot of German references with Schopenhauer.
I can
Yeah,
see
so
where
they did a
to-
whole thing on communication with all the circles, even though it wasn't readable. It was still very interesting.
I see. So whenever this happened, they were still hanging out with Ket, the like creature. I don't know what this have been then. There's probably somebody online who's
Would have
figured
been
out
volume
when-
4, I guess.
Probably,
Okay.
probably like volume 4.
So somebody's probably figured out chronologically where this would like have fit on their journey, like where they would have exactly been. But essentially it is, I'm showing it on stream now. The bonus meme. Do not mourn, though someday night will come, and then above the pale earth, and then I believe the next page continues it. I'm
Yep.
getting it here. Yes. Oh. The cold moon will smile silently as we watch, holding hands in rest. Do not mourn, for some day that time will come and we will rest. Our little crosses will stand upon white waysides, all lined up together. And then the rains will fall, and the snow will fall, and the winds will come and go. And that is where technically this is where the version you guys were reading ends. It ends with that. It is a bonus meme that technically in their journey wouldn't have been the last thing you would have read if it was slotted chronologically. But it is interesting that this kind of poem would be included for that release of it towards the end, I'd imagine. So it probably would have been the last thing that the Japanese readers originally would have read had they purchased it. Although, what does the BD mean? Oh, does this imply
the Blu-ray release?
Yeah, the Blu-ray release. If you get the Blu-ray release, you get a bonus chapter with it. I see. So you only got that after the anime adaptation came out, and then you got the Blu-ray of that adaptation, or met special requirements and also bought the Blu-ray. Because I know some series have done a thing in the past where it's like, prove that you have purchased every volume of the manga, and then you can get a special version of the Blu-ray, which includes a bonus meme or something like that, I think was one of them. Or it was something like, prove you've bought every volume of the DVDs or Blu-rays, and then we'll send you a bonus thing. So that's a cool little detail that they added in. That was a chapter that I completely missed, so I'll have to go back and read that chapter. I mean, it doesn't seem like a long chapter, so I'll at some point do that, but that's very cool. That's very interesting. But
You guys want to do ratings?
Well, before we get to that, I just want to talk about where they actually end the series, though. Okay, they get to heaven. We already talked about they get to heaven, but I specifically want to talk about the I want to say the series of dialogue and then the shot that like gave me chills as I read it. I was like, holy fuck. Let me find the first screen cap with this. I have the second one. That's the like the big double page spread. But the first one was, oh, I don't think I took a screen cap of it before. I'll find it though. Give me 1 second. Because it was just them talking. Oh, I remember. I saved it over here. Yes. Is it this one? Did I not save it? Oh, here it is. It's on my desktop. Yeah, so they reach the top, and it looks like there's like fucking nothing there. And she's just like, should I have made a better choice? Was there like something else we could have done instead? Should we have turned back or whatever? And you just starts pelting her with snowballs, saying, you don't fucking stop thinking about that. There's no point thinking about that. You don't know what we could have done, so stop worrying like that, like it's your fault or something. And specifically, she's saying, we don't know that. What we should have done, why the two of us are alone in this world, I don't know the answers, but... And then this is where we get the big moment. I can
Start eating explosives?
This is true.
That's my favorite part.
The big double page spread. The beautiful starry sky as they lay on heaven, the heaven floor, I guess. And it just says, living was the best, wasn't it? And I'm just like, fuck, dude, bro. There's very few moments that give me like literal chills as I'm reading it. This did it for me. I was like, fuck. After everything that's happened, all the things that are happening with them, all the different emotions I felt with these last chapters, I was like, bro. Yeah,
I
It's a
just
heavy read.
felt like I needed a hug when it ended.
Yep. The camera just zooming out and the end from them being on the top floor, and then you're just like seeing it zoom out more and more, then looking smaller. I thought it was gonna do a thing where it just kept zooming out, and then eventually it made the world look like it was tiny, and then it made the universe look like it was tiny or whatever. Like, I thought it was going to keep zooming out with how these last chapters were doing this thing where everything just has to show how vast and giant these concepts can be made and how insignificant some things might feel in the long run of it. And they didn't quite do that here. Instead, they cut to different shots of different floors, which I feel like I kind of liked that still. Probably not as much as I would have liked that other idea, I think, but I did enjoy it cutting to these different areas where you're just like, what happened there? I believe these girls had gone to that area at some point, but what is the actual story that happened there? You know, they had their journey, and their journey ended with that shot of it zooming out. Are these other shots that we're seeing a zoom out of somebody else's journey, perhaps? These are ideas that are going through my head when I'm seeing these things. Like, whatever it is, these landscapes that we're seeing there imply a vast series of historical events that have happened to create that scenario. Is the feeling you get from me, or to me, when I see it zoom out of those and then suddenly jump to different areas completely. And I'm just like, fuck, that works. That also just really works. And then it cuts to the like shot of just their hats. And there's nothing else there except for like the hieroglyph thing. Man, what a way to end it.
I did say this the first week. It's not something that ever really hides what it's going to be, but the weight of it does still manage to catch you off guard.
Yep. Oh, fuck. All right. Well, on that note, let's go over.
You're welcome, everyone.
Let's go over our thoughts on the series in general to wrap up the thing. We'll go in order for people's closing thoughts on the series in general, or the ending specific, or whatever, and then give your rating out of 10, if you would like to give one, and then we'll go from there. So we'll start with Aztec. What did you think about Girls' Last Tour?
I definitely just consistently enjoyed it more as it went on. Like, it felt like it sort of changed theme a few times through. As for ratings, hard to say. Like, as a
What would you rate it
general
now?
rating, was that?
How would you rate it now? Like at this current moment?
I mean, I think the ending was basically perfect. I don't know anything they could have really done to improve it, in my opinion. Like, for what it is, easily 9.5 out of 10. But just like as a general, would I recommend people to read this as just a thing to read? I don't think I would, unless it was specifically to their taste.
Right, because otherwise you're recommending it to just make them feel sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, what kind of monster would do that?
Like, I'm not going to recommend people watch Makia unless, they're trying to cry.
I will say, as somebody who originally experienced the series only from the first volume a while ago, when I bought the first volume from, I think, Anime Boston years ago, having completed the series, the first volume compared to where it goes, it's like you get an entirely different kind of recommendation level with those. Definitely, yeah. It, like the first volume, feeling more like slice of life apocalyptic world with like not too heavy stakes. You know that there's stakes technically, but it's not like a big massive thing almost. And it seems like it's hyper detailed about super military kind of things, or like world structural things, compared to the end where it's like, what does it mean? What does life mean? What is what is the afterlife? What is hopelessness? What is how do you Find Hope. Very different levels of recommendation. Absolutely.
Yeah, like the first couple of volumes aren't necessarily lighthearted, but it almost feels like it takes a more outside perspective to the whole apocalypse thing. Like, oh, that's a neat thing going on. Anyway, next.
Yeah.
And it just becomes more personal
It
as it
feels like
goes on.
background detail for the first couple of volumes, and then they just get more and more personal.
Right. Any other thoughts you wanted to share with that, Aztec?
Nah. Use my favorite little pothead, even if she doesn't get to smoke.
We did though.
The most lovable war criminal you've ever seen.
Based. All right. So for me, I've already, I think, spoken in detail about a lot of my like deeper symbolic enjoyments, thematical enjoyments of this kind of stuff. I do really like it. I would recommend it, but probably, as Aztec said, not to somebody who specifically is looking for just a cute girl slice of lifetime, which may be what people get the impression of based on things like the first couple chapters, maybe. You will definitely want to approach this series understanding that as simplistic and innocent as it may feel at times early on, it will start getting darker more apparently, and it will start hitting you more deeply and emotionally. And if you're not somebody who is in for that kind of stuff and you just want a more chill series about cute girls doing cool aesthetic, like interestingly aesthetic things like snowy apocalypse world with military gear or whatever, but like they have moe designs and stuff like that, you might want to hesitate before you go into this if you're somebody who cannot handle media that also will probably give you existential dread as you read it, about some things. Although the message in the end is supposed to be a more hopeful kind of message. So if you're somebody who can accept it as long as it has that kind of twist to it, I guess. But yeah. I mean, in general, for me, I'm trying to think of like what, if any, kind of reason I would not give this a 10. I think the only way I would hold back from giving it a 10 would only be the just how different the first few chapters, like the tone of the first chapters compared to the tone of the last chapters, or like even the middle chapters, I guess, which I remember was enough for Ari to initially go into the spoiler chat of the book club saying I'm bored and things like that. You know, because that's probably the only thing for me where it might have the flaw is perhaps its initial tone maybe could have been more balanced, but I think overall I would still just give it a 10 in general, because the way it handled things midway and then towards the end, I think it just executed all of its ideas and all of its concepts and all of its visual and symbolic representations of things just perfectly, I think, for what Tsukumizu was going for. Yeah, it's peak, I think. I think it is peak in 6 volumes, and I think that is very neat that it can do that. And it gets me very excited to eventually finish reading Shimeji Simulation, which I had only read a few chapters of prior, and I already knew it's from the same author, and I had already knew that it was an interesting series. But now, having consumed this fully, I understand more what I'm going to be getting into with Shimeji Simulation, and it's the way it does thought-provoking things. I don't know if its ending is going to be nearly as sad as this one, because it's a very different kind of setting for that one. They're not in the apocalypse as far as I know in Shimeji Simulation, but you know, I am still very excited to read that and explore how Tsukumizu handles that series. So that's my thoughts. I give it a 10 out of 10. I'm trying to think if there was a previous entry of book club that I've given a 10 out of 10 to. And I don't remember if there has been a perfect 10 out of 10 that I've given for book club reads yet. But this gets one from me. So, yeah. Next up, Lady Galaxy. What were your thoughts? You were the one who recommended this to us, so what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I knew going in, this is one of my favorite, like, works of art that I've ever engaged with, and that just remains true. It's just stunningly layered and dense and just relentlessly sad, which is something that I really appreciate and highly value in art in general. So, yeah, I mean, I've been superlative enough in my praise, so I'll just say, yeah, perfect 10 from me, for sure.
All right. Shadow, what do you think about Girls' Last Tour, and what would your score be?
I really enjoyed it. Score wise, I think I give it like a 9 out of 10. It was very good. It was very good.
Okay.
My one regret initially was damn, I'm reading this during my break week. Which, my break's now over.
Oh, wow. What
My
a lighthearted way to
week
spend your break.
I kind of wish I read something longer, but it's the thing, because it was so short, Trent was able to join in at the last minute, so it was all worth it.
That's true.
It was not Shadow's last tour.
Shadow will continue.
Of course, I'll continue.
All right.
I do have one question. I am curious.
Yes.
With chat being a data whore and all.
Yeah, that's what I do.
If is there something that if you lost it, your life would essentially be over? I'm curious.
Internet connection. I don't know what I would do. I don't. It honestly. Oh, I mean, as a data hoarder, if my hard drives, if like all my hard drives on my PC suddenly died at once, like that's so much shit just gone forever, and like I could continue on, but it would be nagging at me forever. The fact that I lost that series of VODs from like late 2017, early 2018 still haunts me, like every couple days in a week or whatever. I'm just like, it has to be somewhere, bro. It is insane how much because like that's like my own personal, it's not even just whatever bullshit I downloaded. It's like all the stuff that I made is just lost. Like the VOD specifically being lost hurts me deeply because that is my own personal history that is gone for good. Because I'm not, somebody who makes this stuff to the point where people are like grabbing copies of the shit that I've made and posted online. Nobody's doing that for me. I'm the only one who can do that. So if that gets lost, it's gone for fucking good. So, that's to me, I guess you would encapsulate that kind of idea to my basically anything I create. If I lose my create, maybe it's not even just my creative works, just the creative drive and the ability to create these things, whether it's like writing articles or making having stream ideas or making videos and stuff like that. If I lost the ability to do those things for whatever reason or method, that would probably ruin my life, I think, personally. Now, is this
anyone else?
Yeah, I was gonna say, was this question only directed to me, or was this directed to other people too? Yeah.
Everyone, I'm curious.
Okay.
Am I allowed to replace whatever I lose?
Yeah.
Then no, I don't own a single damn thing that if it disappeared would impact my life in a noticeable way.
Damn.
Yeah, alrighty.
Wait, what if you could replace it or couldn't replace it? What did you answer that as if?
I mean, having to live life without a cell phone would be pretty nutty, but
It would certainly be very different.
Did anybody else have an answer to that?
I guess for my answer, I would say, I think my music library. That somehow, like, if I don't know, got them all deleted, lost all my physical copies and all that, but I simply do not know what I would do from then on.
Well, I have an interesting answer.
What's your answer, Turndo?
So, okay, I've let it go, but it's pissed me off for a while now. Google the Chrome browser used to save all your Google history. So like it would save everything, your searches, your browser history. And this was useful because if you go into the Google History or Activities tab, you could search up every single link you've ever clicked on or every Google search you've used.
Yep.
So instead of using bookmarks, I would just use that until like 2019 when they cut it down to 6 months. Now it's only 3 months. So why that pissed me off was because during 2016, that's when I started reading a lot of like manga and like all that other stuff. And so all that there was a lot of like content that I read that wasn't on any database. So all of those bookmarks are like completely gone, and half of my reading history from 2016 to 2020 is all missing. That's pissed me off, but there's nothing that I own that's really irreplaceable. Nothing like that I physically own anyway.
Right. I've had the same issue with that too, where I have depended on looking up through my Google history to try to find an old thing that I know about and remembered about, and it was trying to send to somebody or reference in something, and I know I've seen it through a Google history thing before, and that it should be in there if I search it. And once that got fucked, I was like, I'm never gonna find some of these things anymore. What the fuck?
Yeah, I've been using the there's a very useful extension actually. History Trends Unlimited. It'll just save history files, and then like I have every single site I've searched up from 2020 onward just because of that extension. I can like search through it by date, month, and hour. It's nice.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, with that question out of the way, Turando. Wait, Chad, real quick.
Yeah, I was going to answer myself. God damn it.
Yes, I was gonna check. I just realized that you didn't actually answer because you asked the question. So yes, what is your answer to the question?
So all you guys giving interesting answers. My answer is if I lost my eyesight.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, because
that makes sense.
So many things I do, I just couldn't anymore. I couldn't play video games. I couldn't.
Yep.
I couldn't, read manga.
And personally, that kind of idea would also connect to the idea of what I would like if not being able to create things. And it reminds me of the guy from the Pluto, the musician guy who just started hyper focus when he knew that he was going to lose his sight. He just started hyper focusing on making music for as long as he can until he lost his sight, because this is all he lived for. So he's like, I have to learn this as much as I can before I lose my eyesight so that I can at least continue. Because if I can't learn it in time, I'm not going to be a musician anymore, and I don't have a reason to live or whatever was his kind of idea with that. And
is his name Beethoven?
No,
no, I forget what his name was.
Duncan.
Oh, Duncan, yes.
So much like Beethoven.
Did you have anything else to say related to that, Shadow?
No, that'll be everything.
Okay. And you said you'd give it a 9?
Yeah, 9.
Okay. All right, Turndo, what are your thoughts on Girls' Last Tour? We would also like to hear whatever thoughts you could throw in about the earlier volumes that you were not here for the discussions about. So what are your thoughts about the series, and then what is your score?
Okay, so I binge read everything. Very different experience from reading one volume by one volume. Yep. So I agree with Aztec. The first 4 definitely very slow, enjoyable in its own right, but like 5 and 6 definitely went in a completely different direction. From a personal standpoint, like how I feel in the current moment, I have no reason not to give it a 10. I thoroughly enjoyed the fact that it was novel of the whole apocalypse. slice of life and moe genre, it blended all those together very, very well. Because throughout a lot of apocalypse genre, you generally go the mature route with I'm Not a Hero. If you go through the Korean webtoons, you have like Duty After School, Subtle Disaster, Amos Sugawara, City of Walls. It's very unique, like out of all similar content in this specific genre, especially blending apocalypse and just the moe aspect made it really, really impressive to me. So I thoroughly enjoyed the series.
With that idea that you mentioned, I was thinking in my head, if this series had ended on the readings we had last week, where the final chapter was the creature saying, "Well, we have completed our thing, and the world is going to end, and we are gonna go now," and then it's just the shot of those two on a submarine having reunited Kets with like these creatures and them flying off saying the world's gonna end. Good luck. Thinking to myself,
Have fun.
if the story ended with that, my score would be very different. Because I'm trying to think, in a way, it could be considered a almost complete story, in that they reach some kind of location that they reached that location, the submarine thing, and then start looking at the information, the camera, and seeing the history of the past and everything, and then meeting these other creatures. And in one kind of way, you could call that a kind of way to end the series. But the fact that it keeps going and it goes in the way that it does is definitely changes it. Like Turando said, these last two volumes were like huge for this. My score would be drastically changed if it were if it were just based on the first 4 volumes. The first 4 volumes, I'd probably give the series like an 8. But with these last 2 volumes, it bumps it up to a 10. It's just that good with that. I don't know if that should mean that I make it a 9 or whatever, but the ending the way that it does gives me the better appreciation for how we handled the earlier things. Despite how the tone felt with the initial reading, now I feel like on a reread, it's just going to be me going and exploring all these areas again and trying to see what new things I can learn about these areas or consider about the situations. So I don't think I would regret my giving it a 10 score. And it feels like, having experienced those last 2 volumes, I will probably enjoy it a lot on a reread. Even though it is a sad read towards the end, or bittersweet, I guess, ending towards the end, I feel like it is definitely a series that I would be down to reread with people in the future. Which makes me want to ask the question to Lady Galaxy. How did it feel to reread the series for you?
I think more manageable is the best way for me to put it, because I watched the anime first, and I will say I had, I think, a very different reaction to the beginning of the series compared to, it sounds like, the rest of you all, where I had the weight of Girls Last Tour's version of an apocalypse hit me from the beginning. It felt weighty in a way that, again, I've not seen basically anything else really attempt. It's, I think, one of the only things where I got through an episode, and I am someone who like goes out of her way to search out like sadder and sadder things. And this was, I think, one of only 2 times that I'm remembering that I had to like stop after an episode and just kind of process what I had just seen. And I think every subsequent like revisit, because I watched the anime through first, and then I went back and read the manga, and the new stuff there like hit just as much as the other stuff did, but everything before that was kind of, I had already processed it to the extent that I was like emotionally able to. And coming back to it after a few years and revisiting it in this way was definitely a much easier experience,
Right.
even if still like deeply emotional and I think more intellectually engaging for me on a reread, which is, I will fully cop to that being less to do with anything about the series itself and more just me being in a very different place compared to when I initially read it.
I have a very important question for everyone.
Yes.
It's two-part, but the second one's not as important as the first one.
Okay.
First question: did anyone cry to this to this manga? And the second part is, if not this, what was the last manga or anime that you cried to? The second part's not as important as the first one, though.
So I did not cry, but I definitely felt the chills, and it was hitting me, and I had to stop every now and then to be like fuck or whatever, and like it was getting me to the point of crying. It didn't exactly make me cry. There's very few series that do physically make me cry, but this almost had it for me. I feel like if the tone of these two volumes were going on since like volume 3 or like 4, if it went on for like one more volume, I probably would have cried if it kept ramping up at the level that it was. It was getting me on the verge of it, and I definitely felt huge chills with the ending bits. Yeah.
Shadow, you cry to it?
Oh, you talking to me?
I asked everyone, not just Chap.
Oh,
Yeah.
Anyone cry to this?
no.
Touched?
I came very close on this reread at the very end, but I did not.
Hmm.
It gave me like that sinus pressure that comes before a cry, but no tears. I think the last one I watched that I actually got tears from was Cocoon.
Oh yeah, we watched that. That was the movie we watched recently, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the last series that made me cry? Anime or manga, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I watch a lot of shit. That's gonna be hard to answer here. What made me cry?
Just the last one you remember. It doesn't have to be the most recent one, I guess.
I remember March Comes In Like a Lion. When I first watched that, I felt so many emotions with March Comes In Like a Lion. That's probably definitely not the last time I cried, but that's the one that I remember, at least. March Comes In Like a Lion.
Yeah.
I will say I definitely cry fairly easily at this point. So my most recent one was, I guess I'll give two answers. One was I recently finished a reread of Seabed, which is the visual novel I recommended earlier that I would say is fairly comparable to Girls Last Tour, although it is also a very different experience overall. And also the anime that I watched fairly recently, Girls Band Cry.
Oh yes, I need to finish that.
It's
We'll
not
get to it
going to
eventually.
make most people cry, but it hit me real hard.
But it's in the title, Lady Galaxy.
Yeah, I know. I was the girl band
wait.
cry something.
You know what?
Punchline.
You know what? You mentioning that has just reminded me. I think one of them that did make me cry was Bang Dream My Go. That one. I haven't watched Ave Mujica, I'm well, I haven't watched past the first episode at least, but I need to watch that. I had never consumed anything Bang Dream related prior to MyGo, and then I heard good things about MyGo, so I checked it out, and boy, bro, at times that shit fucking killed me. I think that was probably the more recent time that I cried. Bang Dream
Oh, hi,
MyGo.
yeah. I've been meaning to watch that.
Yeah. Shadow, did you
I
have an
guess
answer
I'll
to this
go.
question, or did you?
Um,
I don't remember Shadow answering the question.
okay, this one's a little complicated of a last time grade. Okay, I won't get too much into it, but ever since a certain point, it's personal strife in my life, I've kind of withdrawn emotionally quite a
Okay.
bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
The last time, I think it was in like fourth grade, our music teacher decided to show us I forgot it was Buchiko exactly. It was something like that. It was something very similar.
It was what? It was
Like Buchiko, I think. Yeah, you know the
Buchiko. Buchiko.
like okay, so the plot is like a guy. It's a real thing that happened, I think. He goes to work, and then every day, his dog waits for him when he finishes.
Oh,
Um,
Hachiko.
Oh,
that's
yes. Oh, okay, yes, this story. Okay.
Yeah, that'd do it.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like the one tried in that class, but then my music teacher, everyone hated him, by the way. But this is the one time, actually, I respect him. He wasn't too bad actually. He said, that was one person in the room capable of empathy.
Damn.
In that moment.
All right. Okay, so
guess I'll answer
Turndo.
then.
Yes, Turndo. What is your answer to your question about that?
I didn't cry to Girls Last Tour. I enjoyed it a lot, but I didn't cry. But the last time I cried to something, I can't even remember the specific title because I've read a lot that I've like felt really emotional about and cried to. But the one that stuck with me the most was 27 Years. It was pretty depressing, but it was like it was crying, but it was like a hero, like because it was a person in a very circumstance, but doing something very heroic, and I just really enjoyed that.
What was this? 27 years? Is this like a movie or a
27
book or?
years. It's a web novel.
It's a web novel. Okay.
It's not translated.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, there's a lot. Magician of Cloakheart. There's Kata was pretty touching. Tomorrow Isn't Coming. There's a lot of titles, but that one was 27 Years stuck with me a lot.
Okay.
I'll have to check it out.
Very emotional times
Yes,
happening here. Okay, let me go over the scores we got from people again just to make sure. So we got Aztec, would you give it a 9 or a 9.5 or something?
Something like that. Just shy of perfect.
Okay, so you're giving it basically a 9.5. I'm giving it 10. Galaxy, I believe you also gave it a 10?
10 out of 10, baby.
Shadow, what did you give it?
9.
9. And then Turndo, what did you give it?
10.
10. Okay, so those are our scores for Girls Last Tour. I was trying to think if there was any other final bits. I thought that there might have been a question I was going to ask, but now I can't remember it. So,
While you try to remember it, I have something to mention. I have something to mention Torrendo about the robots having like a limited time to live, like being scrapped with the amount of time.
Go ahead.
So there's another problem this guy's committed is that the robot may feel like, but I'm perfectly useful though. Why should I be scrapped? There's that. And also, there's a chance that they might be able to apply the zeroth law of robotics, and the second someone is able to do that, we're doomed. Wait, hold on. Have I explained the zeroth law of robotics here yet?
I don't think on the podcast.
You might have explained it to me at some point at some other time, but I don't remember it. So you're probably gonna have to re-explain it again.
Well, I want to hear it.
Okay,
Yes.
so I guess I'll go over all four of them, and first of all, just so you get some context. The first one is robot cannot harm humans. pretty useful. Second one is a robot must do as a human says, unless it contradicts the first law. Third one, a robot can't must survive unless it contradicts the first two laws. At some point, Isaac Asimov decided to make an amendment to the first one. That being a robot through action or inaction cannot harm a human or come to harm. And then there's a zeroth law, which it says a robot must do what's best for humanity as a whole. Which it means a robot is able to kill a human as long as it's good for humanity.
That's okay. Yeah, I see.
And within a different literary work, it wasn't as robots say, if there's a zeroth law, does that mean there's a -1 law?
Is there an
yeah,
infinite
natural
overflow
number.
law?
Infinite overflow law.
And the
How many
-1
laws are there?
Theoretically, the -1 law would be robot must do its best for existence in its entirety.
Do you think Godzilla
You
follows the
have natural
-1
robot
law?
law, natural robot law, whole robot law, and then integer robot laws.
Do you think there's like a
Do you think
one,
there are imaginary robot laws?
yeah, like
Yes,
one
it's the
half
-1
robot
law.
law, or okay?
Well, that'll only apply for fourth dimensional robots.
Oh shit.
All right, so let's go through the images of the tour. I'm not going to go through the full thing of it. I'm just going to show them on stream real quick. The tour so far. So here first, I'll show the images that we got in the bonus meme for Volume 2, which we already went over last time, so we won't go over it fully here. But this is their tour so far through those volumes 1 to 2. They're starting down in the bottom right, and then entering through, and then again, all of this is not to scale so that we can properly see the general direction and vicinities of their journeys. They go through this, they go through the paths, and then it ends towards the takeoff chapter, and then we get into the ones that we were provided for this week in Volume 5, which includes not just because we didn't have a tour so far for last week's reading that I got to show off, but those chapters are in this week's tour so far images. So we have two. We have this image, which is the tour so far, mostly from last week. Here, I think here is entirely last week, and then there's like some more from last week on the next page I'm going to show. And then let me show the other page. Where is it? This one right here. Download. Put it here. And then this is essentially their journey so far up to the end of Volume 5. We do not have the additions of their journeys in Volume 6. It may have been posted somewhere else later, but it was not included with the English volume release, at least. If that image does exist, which I'm sure if they took the time to make these, the author probably eventually drew the same for the final volume somewhere, perhaps. If not, fans have probably come up with it, maybe.
It wouldn't be a surprise if it exists, whether or not it's been officially released in any sort of capacity.
Right. And these torso fars are like if you don't read it, it's just gonna look like, okay, this is a cool little sketchy drawings of like a map of an area. That's kind of cool world building. But if you've read through their journey and then you look back through these, you're just like, oh man, it really puts in perspective how far they've come, all the things that they've had to go through, a better idea of the environment they're dealing with on a bigger scale. And it's just really, really cool. I really like them getting hyper focused and adding in bonus meme details like these. I think they add a ton, and I really appreciate them. I think they're very, very nice, and I like the little markings for where each of the chapters took place. I like that too. the hometown one, it like points where their characters were, because I was wondering about that, if it was going to indicate where they were from when it got to hometown. It only really indicates where they were when the flashback was happening, and the flashback was happening as they were going up the lift. So it's not an indication of where they're from. It's just an indication of where they're at now, which makes sense. Yeah, so very, very nice, very, very cool visuals with that. Really appreciate that detail. And then we have the afterwards. Let's see here. This is the afterword for volume 5. And it says, here's your illustration. And it says, I like dreaming of the past, meeting people I'll never meet again, my childhood self, talking to my mother or father. Then when I wake up, I feel sad. Does that sadness stem from having lost those things? Or is it because I've remembered that I'd forgotten even the things I'd lost? Humans long for things to stay the same for eternity. But on the other hand, I think that the act of forgetting heals us. And then there's a little sketch of them with their dog again. Very, very, very interesting, because this is also, I believe, the end of the volume where the robot that is living forever would like to die, because they just need to stop thinking about these things, stop being lonely or whatever. And forgetfulness is like a theme that they keep bringing up, not just with making fun of you, but also about history of people in general, and whether or not is a good thing in ways to forget. And then here's the afterword for volume 6, the final one, which shows our girls in, I believe this is a wheat field. And it says, afterward, this world is so massive and complicated that many things pass us by without us even knowing. But no matter what, Chito and Yuri believe that the joy of living would never pass, and I want to believe that too. I think that's what I had in mind as I drew this. Probably. Thank you so much for reading my clumsy work all the way to this point. Tsukumizu. And I liked the additional detail of, in all the other afterwards, it was Tsukumizu drawing what I believe to be a depiction of like their character or mascot or whatever with a dog. And here it is the girls. It is Chito and Yuri, as they've ended their journey. And we do have thoughts from Shino, which I can read. We have received Shino's thoughts. Let me find those real quick. They're not very long, so this shouldn't take too long. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Hole Digger Shino said, my overall thoughts on the final stretch. One, that final big painting was kind of Guernica-esque to me. Is that how you say that? This is referring Guernica. This is referring to the big weird painting, the more futuristic looking one, right? That's the painting we're referring to with that one.
I believe so.
Yeah. And then number two, emotional at seeing them paste their picture on the wall. This is in the art museum, leaving behind the trace of their existence. Yeah, I really liked it. Yeah. Number 3, LOL weed.
I do.
Number 4, unexpected that there were human communities out there. Wonder what their life there was like. Yeah, this is referring to the hometown, I'm assuming, scene, where we're seeing whatever they were up to, whatever drama seemed to have exploded with the people there before our characters were on their journey. Number 5, felt sad when they went into pitch black darkness but found their way to the light together without losing touch. Without losing each other. Was a nice parallel to the start of the story. Yeah, I really loved the visual too. And this is me talking, not Chino. I loved the visual of them climbing up those the stairs in general for that final climb. Just being like the way that they're designed. There's like, I don't think that there was any side railings. It was just the little human walkable platforms, not like the other place, which was you could like drive on or whatever. That's just like very nice looking spiral, upwards climb, and repeating the like spiral thing idea that they had before with it, and this is just what they had to climb in pitch darkness eventually when the lantern went out. And then there was still a little bit of the stairs that were still going upwards from the top floor too. So I was like, man, that's such a cool visual to end this with. That was me. Anyways, Shino's number 6 point here. I guess my girls made it to heaven at the end. I would say that they probably die, that they made their way up to the tower and their way to the warm place with lots of food by going to the heaven that they weren't sure would exist. Final picture of them seemed like a wheat field. Even though it was sad, it still felt hopeful, like they were fulfilled in their short lives. Hit me in the feels. A solid 8.5 to 9 out of 10. And thank you for the thoughts, that last bit about them going to the last, the finding the warm place or whatever, going upwards to heaven, that reminded me, the dialogue I think they had either then or at like some other point was, I think they made a joke about like, they were like, man, we're like the last 2 people in the world. And they're like, yeah. And it's like, well, I guess that makes me the happiest person in the world. Well, I guess so. And that makes you the second happiest, which makes you the unhappiest person, right? I was like, that's one way to view it. I mean, it's not wrong, but it's an interesting way to view it. Yeah. And then they just laughed about that. And then I don't remember if that was in that scene. I think that might have been in an earlier scene. I don't remember, but
No,
whatever it
it's
was.
right at the top of the world.
And
yeah.
That's like one of the last few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of like they laugh about that, and then they just get cozy, and then it ends. Yeah. Man, the girls finished their tour. What a journey! What a adventure! Do we have any final closing thoughts from anybody else here in the stream or chat before we wrap this up? Okay.
Thank you all for letting me inflict, I guess, psychological damage on you all.
Well, you only
Really
inflict
appreciate it.
psychological damage to most of us.
How could you do this? How could you
Thanks for the
just like?
recommendation.
How could you just come here and give us peek like this, and then like leave? What would you do with this? What would you? I mean, you're not leaving, but
That's true. This is my last ever episode.
this
Oh,
is your
no!
last tour.
Yeah, they're gonna execute me right after this.
Oh shit. Well,
What did you do?
Oh, you know.
yeah.
No,
that
I don't
happens.
know. That's what I'm asking.
So anyway, yeah, thanks for having me.
Viewsundred chat said the vibes are immaculate. Not much more to add. I mean, yeah, it's just it's a I can't say fun time, but it is a impactful time.
It's a good
I
time.
guess. Yeah. Yeah. If yeah, good. I'm
If
trying to
this
like
is what
hesitate
you're
from saying that
looking for, it's a
this is
good
a like.
time.
I'm trying to hesitate from saying like it is a happy time. I mean, to some people they might look at the ending as like a happy thing, but like you will still feel the dark emotions with it up until that point, I guess. But yeah, yeah. And with that, I think we're ready to finally end our discussion on Girls' Last Tour. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't think I would have that many deep things to say with this series towards the end. With the first few volumes, I knew I'd be talking about some of the deeper details of whatever it seems to be happening. I didn't realize how deep we would be getting with this, so I was very surprised with how this series turned out for me, especially with these last 2 volumes. They were just amazing. So thank you again for recommending it. I very much do appreciate it. And I'm excited to eventually go back and read Shimeji Simulation, which I would also recommend to anybody else who is interested in this series. I'm told they're in the same world, which I'd imagine that implies that is a separate story from back when people were just more peaceful and had schools and stuff, because that is set in a school setting. So I'd imagine it's probably, and I think I remember we saw that character was in one of the like past photograph references that happened when they look through the camera. So I'd imagine it's from a much earlier time in humanity's history. So we will see how that goes. All right. And with that, we are done with Girls Last Tour. And for those of you tuning in still or listening still, reminder, the plan is a 2-week break because I'm going on 2 convention trips to anime cons. I'm going to Anime Central in Chicago and then back here to Anime Boston, which means we will not just be having a 1-week break like we usually do. We'll be having 2-week break, and we've already decided the next 2 series that we're going to be reading. So starting on May 29th, we will be reading we will be starting Pandora Hearts, and then we will be continuing that until that's done. I think it's like 24 volumes or something like that, so we'll be going until that's done, and then we will be doing Bloom Into You, which is 8 volumes. So those are the series that we have locked in and planned, and then once those are done, we'll do voting for whatever we're going to read afterwards. So that's the plans for the book club. And if you are somebody who is interested in tuning into those and or becoming a part of the book club yourself, either on the streams or in the discussions, you can join discord.wolfborg.com, hop into there, grab yourself the book club role. We have a good time. You can share suggestions, talk about whatever. You can spam whatever art related to the series that we've read. You can do whatever with that. And if you want to catch these either live or, watch the VOD later, you can check out YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. I'm live on all these things at wolfborg.com. You can find my links to everything there. youtube.wolfborg.com, twitch.wolfborg.com, kick.wolfborg.com. You can go to those links directly and it'll resolve to those places. Or just go to wolfborg.com. It's got my links to everything there. So you can check out all of those things and follow, subscribe, whatever. Typically, book club meets Thursdays, 9 o'clock Eastern time, and then we go until we're done, which is around now. Sometimes it's earlier, sometimes it's later. It depends on whatever series we're talking about, and if it's like a finale where we have a lot to talk about, like here. So, anyways, thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate you all for coming to show up, and we are done for this week, and we will see you all next week. I'm going to find somebody to raid now, and then we will wrap this up. Who do we have here on Twitch? I think technically you can raid people.
Last raid.
I think you can raid people on YouTube as well. I'm too lazy to do that, so that's not happening. The raid's only going to Twitch, so. Let's see, who do we have?
Last raid? Are they getting rid of the feature?
The girls' last raid. Okay, it's the last tour. Oh, Rudy is doing a gaming grab bag. I believe it's all THC games. So go have fun with that. And I will talk to you all later. Bye, stream. Bye. Bye. Bye.